because my point or my understanding, or they say my obsession, is to prepare as much in advance as you can. So do not wait for 3-4 days before the exam, because this is not enough for you to integrate the knowledge. And as I say to my clients, I don't mind you coming 3 days in advance, but you do not do a good investment if you don't allow yourself the time to get all the knowledge in and to kind of go through the knowledge again and again. So a good return on investment would be as soon as do the masterclass and then allow yourself the time to integrate the knowledge. Until now, I went through the EPSO competencies and through the, so this is what I've done, I think, last year, or at least at the beginning of the year. I've done the EPSO competencies, right? Through the definitions and through, so that you understand what is exactly that they are looking for. Then what I've done later is the anchors that you have for the EPSO competencies. Why? Because it might be that if you go for an interview, they will just take the list of the anchors and they read the anchors and you have to provide examples. So we are coming back. So the first thing I've done is to give you the definitions of the competencies, and hopefully by having this definition, you understand what they are asking when they ask for a competence example. Second thing that I've done is the anchors, which means that they do not necessarily ask for a specific competency in the sense explicit wording, but they will give anchors. That means they will phrase in another manner the competence, and then you have to recognize the competence in that phrasing. So that's why the other batch of my free talks were on the anchors. Good. And now I'm going to a third thing that kind of I anticipated, or I invented it last week, where I said, what if we take the competencies, and instead of talking about what is the competence in the sense of the theoretical understanding, we will talk about how could you already practice that competence at work. And by practicing the competence at work, then when you go in an exam and they will ask you examples of that competence, you know already, let's say you have already the examples because you were busy practicing the competence. And this is what I will do next week, right? Next Friday. So will be EPSO competencies, practical, how to say, practicing at work, something like that will be the call, but you understand already the meaning. This is next week. And so the next Friday. And meanwhile, I think that, I don't remember in which day, I think that they put the testimonials out there. And well, the ones who follow me on the Facebook, probably they saw that I published some EU ambassadors who just took their, how to say, they started their new place of work. And then obviously you could guess behind that I'm kind of part of that. I was part of that. I didn't say anything, obviously, but I would say you're smart enough to guess. So, and this is part of the, I say, testimonials, but you will have concrete testimonials that are coming from these people by, I say, talking about how I prepare them and how I help them in that career development. That is the word, right? So now today we said that we will concentrate on the new let's say upcoming EPSO competitions, and then on how I could help and support and let's say accompany you in this process. Now, what are the profiles? I could see social and digital media, good. Webmaster, okay, and then graphic design and visual content production. So we are in a very artistic, I will call them /IT disciplines. I say, if ever, probably not you necessarily, because you have done your studies, you have done your qualification, so it will be too late. But if it's to have somebody, you know, a young, I would say that is the direction to certainly follow. Hopefully they like it, because look at us, we are all online, we are all on the social media, and lately I just bought one, how to say, something like 50 books in infographics. I used to read, right? I used to read really the, you know, Peace and War Tolstoy in the full version of, I don't know, hundreds of pages, or Forsyth Saga in hundreds of pages. And this is the first time ever that I bought infographics, right? I even never read, how do you call that, cartoons or something. I never, ever. I always like to read the full book. And now I do realize that I don't have the time to read the books. I mean, some, yes, I still read, but I don't have the time to read all the books I would like. And then I said, well, it might be a way to go forward. Now I'm saying, so we are kind of changing the culture, the understanding, by going for other means of communication, and graphic design, visual content production, well, might be one of them. So, so I keep it for my, the clients I have. So let's put it like this, right? I coach the parents, and now I'm coming to the second generation. So I have the children coming in coaching, which are in the 20s, and they are looking for universities. So I help them to write the application for the universities. Then I prepare with them the interviews in order to be admitted. And with some others that finished the bachelor, we were having a session on what is the way forward. So again, career development, but more on the, not on the work aspect, but on the choosing the master, choosing the next educational background. So, so what I would say is that I will keep that in mind for the children of my clients, if ever they want to go on that way. That will be, I believe, a good career, and with a lot of potential in the future. Now, so this is one. Then we go financial management, accounting and treasury. Oh, that looks, I mean, how to say, I already have somebody on treasury, isn't that? I know, I do have a good memory. So I know who's who in my clients. And then public procurement, very good point, right? So these are the competitions to be, which is very clearly, right, 2 domains, right? IT slash artistic slash technology there. And then on the other side will be, again, financial, big thing inside with some small aspects. Now, coming back to AST3, which is obviously assistant in theory, but in practice, obviously, we will have there participants with bachelor and master and, well, who knows, a PhD in something. So what I'm saying is that even if you are educated to bachelor and master, and so I would say do not hesitate to go for these competitions. And obviously, as I said, my opinion represents only my understanding, but my understanding is that we are in a period of, let's say, shrinking resources, and therefore, the institutions are trying to hire, let's call it, senior persons in a junior pay. That is the reality. So I would say if you have 20 years experience, and in fact you will be qualified for an 80-16, well, I'm sorry, I don't think it's easy to get that 80-16 despite your experience and knowledge and so on. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you have to go for an AC3, but you know, the times are tough. So might be that you could consider to go for an AC3, even though, like, I have a lot of clients who started with me doing an AC3 or an AC1 even, and then they continue to go for another competition and another competition in order to, guess what, develop the career, right? So the fact that you go for an AC3 when in fact you would be qualified for an AD12 is not necessarily so bad. Because then I would say you could secure, I'm sorry, I'm talking about putting the bread on the table, but you could secure, let's say, a professional life that is not necessarily that bad, and then still continue to do your exams and to go for the next and the next level of, let's say, of the competition. Why not? In any case, so this was on one aspect. The other aspect is that you could learn how to manage a competition, right? Is not that you will go for the right exam when it comes, which is exactly yours and exactly the right domain and exactly the right level. It might be that, how to say, if you have never done an exam that is really overwhelming, and you don't know how to organize yourself and how to handle the preparations and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, I'm here to help you, but nevertheless, it's a lot of preparation, let's say, organization and so on. But if you have done one exam, right, then you are much more knowledgeable, much more aware of how to handle an exam. So by the time you will have the right one, which is the right domain, the right level, and you are in the right whatever mood, then I would say, yes, it might be easy for you to go for the second exam. So for all these reasons, I would say, go for exams that are not strictly yours, right? Now, obviously, I don't know why, say if you are in the financial domain, don't go for nuclear safety. It looks to me a little bit too much, right? Far-fetched. Or if you are a webmaster, then you don't go for the, I don't know, economic or policy. Makes sense. So obviously you have to stay somewhere where it is reasonable, your application looks reasonable. Nevertheless, you could use that, say, first competitions as a training ground, a training moment. And then hopefully by the next one, you will be much stronger in facing or say managing your competition. So this is just about these next competitions. Then I said that obviously, I would like to go back to what is that I could do for you. So for my clients that are, say, for potential clients, for people that were not here with me before, so they don't know what I'm, what is my offer of services. I would say the first, and probably even before, but that's really, it's a session, a coaching session, and this should be individual, in what is the right competition for me, right? So I have people who are in this questioning, and I would say that they are, well, to my mind, it's not easy to decide, you know, should I go on that direction or on the other? And because of that, I would say that what you could imagine or envisage is an individual coaching session to think about where is that you want to go, where is that, let's say, the right career for you, or the right competition, or the right job, or the right level, or so on and so forth. I would say that we could, if we could do that session, then we could then decide, okay, I'm going for this competition. Good. Now, what is that I could do during the, or to accompany you in the competition? Number one, application forms. That is, rewrite your CV, which is the minimum that we should do together. The minimum, right? CV, it's a fundamental piece, and it's not only that let's say we write a document, is that we rephrase all your professional life. We rephrase your duties. We rephrase the responsibilities that you had. So there is a lot of rephrasing. And then this rephrasing, hopefully you will integrate. And it's like a basis, like a solid base on which you will construct, you will build your future interviews. So our phrasing of the CV will help you for already to prepare the interviews in which you will recycle the phrasing that we used. So so this is the CV. Still on the application forms, there is the document on the 4 questions on the motivation. We should do them together again, because we would like them to be the best quality we can imagine. And then, so these are the 2. And these 2 you could recycle in applications for, I would say, everywhere in the world, and as well in the European agencies. So I would say that is not one-off investment. It is something that you could recycle in whatever next applications you do. I remember I was doing a client thing, external relations or something like that competition. Then we have done the documents for the European EPSO competition. And then he went for an UN selection, and then we recycled the documents of the EPSO competition. As simple as that, right? So it's not, because obviously the application forms across the world, they are not that different. So it is, like say, recycling. And then if you go for a expert exam, that means, expert specialist competition and so on, then it might be that you will have a talent screener. And the talent screener, again, I would say it's a document that we should write together to be sure that it is on the highest possible level, and then hopefully it will help you to pass to the next phase. Out of the 3 documents, they always start by assessing the talent screener, and therefore I would say the minimum we should do this, but the point is that the talent screener should be coherent with the CV, should be coherent with your 4 questions on the motivation. So therefore, I would recommend you to do the 3 of them, and then have them on the best quality we could imagine. So this is the first stage. Now, next stage. Well, next stage, we have a CBT, which is a computer-based test. That means verbal, numerical, and abstract. And here I would like to stay a little bit. Why? Because in the last competition, it's an internal competition in the council. The council chose a little bit different way of, how to say, testing. So they still have verbal, they still have numerical, but the verbal is not really verbal reasoning, but is much more logical reasoning, and so on. So here, what I would say, which is obviously useful, thank God, I have a master in mathematics, which means that we have done this logical reasoning up and down and inside out, right? So it's, how to say that? So I just discover that with my clients that I prepare now, that yes, it is new. Yes, we have never done before, but yes, I've done it in my education as a master in mathematics. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I could prepare you in verbal, numerical, abstract reasoning, but I could prepare you in the logical reasoning. I could prepare you in other things that apparently come out now, right? So just ask me, right? It's like what they have done. And I said, okay, I don't know, show me some. And then they send me one example. I said, okay, I know, this is a logical reasoning that we used to do in the university. So yes. And if ever, they will change in the future. So we don't know, we'll see what comes out, but obviously I will, how to say, check up in order to be sure that I could support you in that. So this is the pre-selection test, CBTs. Okay, then next, you could, in some exams, you have MCQs in the domain of competence, right? I have a question. Each competition has its own talent screener? Yes. So the talent screener is specific for each competence, for each competition, and we cannot create one, let's say, in advance. We have to wait for the competition notice to come out, and then we have to respond to these questions. And they are different for each exam. So yes, it is a one-off document. Having said so, because we can do in advance the CV and the 4 questions of the motivation, then when the competition comes out, we will have to do only the talent screener. And that kind of make it lighter, right? If you wait for the notice to come out and then you have 3 documents to do in 1 month, that is very tough. But if we do in advance the CV and the 4 questions, then you have them. And then when the competition comes out, when the notice comes out, and then you see the talent screener, then we could work only on the talent screener for the month. So that's kind of more reasonable as a charge, right? So I'm coming back to the MCQs. You could have MCQs in the domain of competence. And so what I've done with my clients, obviously, I'm not able to prepare you on the domain of competence. Let me be clear. I'm not going there. But what we could do for this specific MCQ, I'm working with my clients on how they are going to revise the substance, right? So that means what kind of fishes, you know, the French word I use here, the fish, what kind of fish do you create in order to revise your substance? And I'm telling you that I've done fishes in, gosh, all the domains that you could imagine around in the institutions. And the point with the fish is that it helps you to revise your substance so that you refresh your memory. Because obviously, for the MCQ, you need to revise the substance. And later on, if ever you will have a written test, then again, you have to revise the substance. So to be clear, we do this revision in the beginning, and then you will do, use the revision in the MCQ and later in the written test, and certainly in the field-related interview again. Right, so they are the 3 use of the fishes that we do in the beginning in order to revise the substance in your domain of competence. So yes, I could help you there in that respect. Good, and then we go for the assessment center. And then again, in the assessment center, we have something like typical tests, right, that they run across all the competitions. So I will start like this. Number 1, case study. Case study is write a briefing to the boss, not in your domain of competence. That's the, the assignment. Write a briefing to your boss, and the file is not in the domain of competence. And obviously they pay attention to be very far away from your domain of competence. So therefore, in the practice that obviously I recommend to my clients is just to go on internet and take material and do briefings. Do briefings in everything, doesn't matter. Because the point of the exercise of the case study is write the briefing, not show knowledge. There is no knowledge to show. So then for the, as I said, for the case study, this is the first test. Obviously, like you will have for all the other tests of the assessment center, you have 3 ways to prepare, at least with me. 1, there are recordings on the website. So you could get the recordings and you go through the recordings again and again so that you you learn the best you can from the recordings. So these are the recordings of the masterclass. Then secondly, I would say once you learn from the recording, you come in the masterclass so that because you are now knowledgeable and informed and aware of the concepts, then obviously by being in the masterclass, you will get everything at a much higher quality than someone who just, how to say, arrives and discovers the concepts there. And by being informed, as I said, then obviously you will be able to ask the questions, to clarify a lot of things that you were not, let's say, sure from the recordings and so on. So what I'm saying is that by doing these sequence recordings and then masterclass, you increase, obviously, the quality of your knowledge. And then third step, if you choose so, then I would say you could come in individual sessions and then obviously prepared, because that's why you have done the other two steps. And because you are prepared now in the individual session, I can check what you have done. I could really correct, how to say, all the work you have done previously. And I'm looking at Dimitris, and I hope that was helpful, right? We checked a lot in your last, and the point is, you see, even if you do a lot of work, and so I'm looking at you, but yesterday I had another girl in coaching, Francesca, and again, she worked a lot, right? And she thought she will just come and then still I had to correct things. So you see why I would say, if you do this recording masterclass and then you come an individual, in theory, you come very well prepared. Still, I hope that I could still improve, perfect whatever you have prepared. And this is what, let's say, I was talking about the case study. Then we repeat the same sequence for the written test. Now, what is the difference? The written test is in the domain of competence. So when we think about the written test, I have to do with you the revision of the substance, because in the written test, you will be asked to do a briefing to the boss, but all the solutions have to come from your knowledge. Therefore, the revision of the substance previously to the written test is a must. And that's why I would say that I will do first the fiches for the revision, and then I will do the written test as such, because there is no written test if you didn't revise your substance, I would guess. I mean, that's what I have as experience, a solid revision, and then yes, you could handle the, let's say, the questions of the written test. So we talked about the two written. Now we have two interviews. One is interview, the CBI, which is the general competencies, right? So it's competence-based interview. I call it general interview. And the general interview, you see, comes very close to the case study. So it's not in the domain of competence. It's a general interview, CBI, it's about your personality, behavior, attitudes, and so on and so forth. So it is not related to your professional life. Well, it is related to your professional life, but it's not related to the knowledge, it's related to the behavior, right? So this is the CBI. Again, as we said before, you have the recordings, you have the CBI masterclass, and then you could come in the individual session so I could check your examples. Because what is the point with the CBI? You have to take examples from your professional life, but they have to be relevant, they have to be telling, they have to be convincing, and so on and so forth. So it's not that easy to choose the right example. And I would say then they have to be to the right level of complexity of, let's say, professionalism, right? As I say, if, for example, you organize, I don't know, Trump election campaign, and then you come for an 85, I would say something is wrong with you, right? But if you prepare the coffee on the Trump whatever campaign, and then you come for a DG position, that's still bizarre, right? So you see that relevance of the example, that right level of the example for that competition is essential. So this is what we are choosing, hopefully we choose correctly in the CBI. And what comes to my mind is like a client, I think in July, and she came in the CBI, and then on the negative example, so negative means failures, right? And she came with the failures, and she was kind of hiding a little bit and presenting them more like a success than a failure. You see what I mean? It's like a difficulty to accept the failure and even more to assume it and da. And I said, no way, you have to accept the failure. You have to, present it clearly out there, and then lesson learned. And guess what? She came after and she said, you saved my CBI, because my friends who went there with the same idea, like to embellish the examples, they had a very tough interview. Whilst I had such an easy interview, such a pleasant situation, because I've done, as you said, assume the failure, get the lesson. So you see what I mean? It's amazing, because again, as you could imagine, she went through the recordings, the interview, and then she came to the individual session thinking that she has done perfectly. And the thing that I corrected was that, and apparently this saved her the interview. So we are talking about the interview on general competencies, and there is another interview on field. As I said, I have on Monday the field, and next Monday I have the general competencies. Now, the interview in the field is normally going along the lines of the talent screener. So if we have done the talent screener, then I would say it will be much easier to go through the field related interview, because we have everything there, right? We have the right phrasing and the right words and the right whatever already conceived and phrased in the moment of the talent screener. Now, if not, well, okay, we will do from scratch now in this preparation. So we will use as the structure of the preparation the talent screener, obviously going beyond the talent screener, because we will have to have all the time secondary questions. And as I said, the secondary questions are there in order to test whether indeed you have been there, whether indeed you have done that. So what we do in the preparation, we imagine these secondary questions to support the claim that yes, you are the specialist. Don't forget that the talent screener is to show that you're the specialist, whilst the CBI is to show that you are a good employee or a good colleague or a good boss, right? So the purposes of the goals of these two interviews are different, right? On one hand is the substance knowledge in the field related, and on the other hand is behavior, where is the CBI. Okay, field related, and then what? And then you could have, for example, for the internal competitions, you could have a presentation on the policy, or in the lawyer linguist, you have a presentation. Or I'm just wondering, in the translators, I think I prepared in the summer presentations as well. So that's another test. As usual, we will do, I think I have recordings and then a master class if needed. The question is that the oral presentation is very rare thing. So if I have enough, if I see that there are enough, candidates for, then obviously I could propose a master class. If not, then there's no choice than to come in the individual session if you want. But obviously we can prepare the oral presentation, I would say, either in the field of competence or in the European policies. both things are possible. And then I don't remember. Do you have something else in the assessment center? Yeah, there are some assessment centers specific, like for, I think I have now lawyer linguists. I have, what's that the name? Lawyer linguists, proofreaders, right? And the proofreaders, they have other tests like language comprehension or something like that. So then I would normally do in the individual sessions, because I don't have enough, let's say, candidates so that I could propose a master class. And yes, and the last test that I do now, because this is the competition needing it, is the situational CBI, right? So situational competence-based interview. And then again, we have recordings with a situational masterclass, so you could do that. Then I organize a masterclass. I think that I have one in the, let me see. Yes, in the 26th of September, I have a situational situational CBI, SCBI masterclass. So yes, you could have a masterclass. And then again, yes, you could come in the individual sessions, is what I've done this morning. One of the sessions, in fact, one of the sessions was the SCBI and the other one was case study written test. So what I'm saying is that the situational SCBI, again, we could perfect the preparation with the individual session. And this is what we have done this morning with a client, because obviously in the meanwhile, she got some rumors about how the SCBI happened with the other colleagues. So she came quickly to say, could we think together about how do I react if so? And then I think we had quite a good, very good session on how to say, brainstorming on the SCBI, let's say, beyond what we have done before, and kind of integrating these rumors that hopefully, at least it looks to us, that we have done a good job. Now, I will tell you more about next time, but it was really an excellent session, because we went much beyond the file as such, because in the situation, you have a file, right? So you have to start with that situation in mind, like you know it because it's yours, and then to go beyond it. And then this is what we have done this morning. We imagine all kinds of scenarios beyond that, and we kind of planned, so what if and what if and what if. And this was the brainstorming, as I said, that we have done this morning, and I think looks to us good. So well, I think that I took you through all the preparation that I offer. And then, as I said, it might be for AST1, AST3, and AD5, and 7, and 8, and AD16, right? So stay with me until you're AD16. I have enough to prepare you for all these levels. What else? Yes, and then once you're on the reserve list, well, when then we get to the next phase, because then we have to, how to say that, to get you a job, first of all. So we have to move quickly to get a good job. And then once you are in the job, I suppose that you would like to be good, and you would like to be, how to say, the remarkable. And then we move in from the EPSO, let's say, coaching into a professional, or coaching for the professional life, coaching for the how to handle the boss, and how to handle the colleagues, and how to handle the stakeholders, and blah, blah, all kind of things. And then at a certain point, you will like probably to move up, and then we start again, the whole selection process at another level. And then well, by the 65, probably you will think together what do you do after, how do you call that? After yes minister life. But that's not tomorrow, right? We still have some years. So this is what I'm doing, right? Accompanying the professional life of my clients. Like you say, you saw it, it's like starting at 18, something like this. And there was the youngest client up to the 65, everything that comes in your professional life, almost everything. I should not exaggerate. Probably there are things that I cannot, but then I will tell you, sorry, I have no clue what to do with this. But if it is within the behavior, within the human aspect, then I think I have something to say. So that is what I could do for you. And then if you have questions, I would be ready to answer. If not, Fabiana said, it's not clear to me what a presentation is in these competitions. That depends on the internal competition. You could have presentation of a European policy, and then God knows they are European policies. So you will just throw in your head a European policy, you have to present it. In the translation or lawyer linguist competition in the summer, they got a file. And so we prepared the presentation based on the file. So these are the two things that I saw, or I mean, I prepared lately with my clients. So it's either European policy, and this is a lot in the European, the internal competitions, or you have a file and then you have to make a presentation based on the file. So there are two things. With slides, no, they do not ask for slides, but I always prepare the slides with my clients just in case. You never know, and then it's easier for the others to see, to understand what you say. So I always prepare slides, even though they are not necessarily obligatory. So I have a video of, for the case study, I have a video of master class, right? Master class probably is a general, so for all kind of competitions. But if you say, if I have a coaching session for a case study, it might be that it was a specific competition. No, because case study is general. No, so I don't understand the question. No, so if it's masterclass is, do you do coaching sessions? Good Lord, but this is why I'm talking for 1 hour. I do individual coaching sessions, right? So that's what I do. And when I say coaching session, I rather call them individual, right? Now, when I say masterclass, I already talk with a group, right? So that's the difference. And right, can we do the CBT in a test center? Well, I don't know, it's not my business. You should check with your competition and your instructions on the competition. So I hope that I clarified the thing, right? Masterclass is the group. And normally in a group, we have about 6 or so, 7 participants, and then coaching session is individual. But as I said, the right order for me will be first the recording, then the masterclass, then the individual session, so that you arrive in the individual session well prepared, and then hopefully we could finalize the whole preparation in one session. Because if you come without anything done before, then obviously 2 hours is not enough. So I think that we have exhausted the questions, and then I hope that you are clear. I mean, it looks like you are clear, if so. And then I hope to see you next So it's a masterclass coaching session. I don't understand that. It looks to me as someone who knows not at all. What is the sequence? All right, the sequence is recording first. Recording, it is the recording that you buy on the website, right? This is number one. You learn the best you can from that. Second, you come in the masterclass. You come, so will be a webinar like now, where you could ask questions, you could comment. So I will clarify everything in that masterclass. And then if you want to show me your work and to have, let's say, my feedback on your work, then you come in individual session. I hope that now it's recording, webinar, individual session. That is exactly. Now it is clear. Great. I'm very happy that it's clear for everybody. And I see you next Friday, I suppose, for the, for the EPSO competencies, practice at work to shine in your exams. This is the title I will put. Shine in your exams by practicing EPSO competencies at work. Huh? It's not bad, right? Good. Okay. A bit pretentious. No, no. Well, that depends if you, it depends on you to shine, my dear. I give you all the tools. See you next Friday.